see here attachment E1, page 3, with a list of events in fiscal 16 and fiscal 17, and it's very easy to do a search here and find a whole bunch that have come up in fiscal 18. And I understand the superintendent to be saying that these charges, if found to be true, lead to immediate dismissal.
Yes.
In any case that involves sex abuse of a child, once investigated and found to be true, the employee is dismissed and not rehired anywhere in MCPS.
Well, the process goes forward. The employee is removed from the system immediately. First on administrative leave.
Right.
And then we go through the process with our partners sitting behind us who are invaluable to us in protecting children. And then when it's verified, and either, I mean, we're dealing with several right now that are, some people are in jail, they're different places, and then we go through the state required process to move toward termination. I feel so strongly about this, and I've believed so much that we cannot even allow people to resign when it's found that they've done these sorts of things. They must be terminated because that becomes part of the record. And I've lived my career that way. Mm-hmm. It absolutely, we don't want to quickly decide someone is guilty of something when there's an accusation, but we want to take all precaution during that investigation that nothing will happen with that person or with a child. And then in the adjudication of that, I don't even allow the staff or any of my designees, or would never myself recommend somebody to be allowed to resign. When sometimes there is, I've dealt with a couple of cases in other places where there was very strong grooming behavior, but nothing actually was proven to have happened with high school students, where I did allow the person to resign only under the condition that they give up their teaching certificate for life, because it's another way that we can get at the record. It can be on the record, and they have no more access to students unless someone is incredibly careless in their hiring of someone outside of the educational system. I mean, we have to do everything we can do within the parameters we live in of how, because when you are, especially when you are a tenured teacher, you have a property right. So there are very strict ways, but none of that precludes us from removing them from children and then taking the action. And I, of course, make the recommendation to the school board. The school board acts. If the person doesn't like their response, then they can go to the state board, and then they can go to the courts. And I'm okay if they want to appeal my decision to my recommendation and the local board's decision to the state board. If they've done something wrong to children, then they should appeal that, and the state board should uphold our decision. The court should uphold our decision. These are not areas where any sort of procedural error or anything like that ought to allow somebody to go back to work with children.
Okay, but so the challenge that I face in assessing that is that you have stories reported in the media. I'm looking at one now. A former teacher at Cloverly Elementary School was convicted of 9 counts of sexual abuse. You have a former math teacher at Blair High School where there were dozens of complaints over the years. So although I understand it's the intent of the system that if there's even one offense, the individual is terminated, you have media reports of people for whom there's a half a dozen more offenses that are reported in the media. So parents and community members see this, and it makes them skeptical that, in fact, individuals are terminated immediately. There's multiple counts in a number of these cases that have been reported in the media.
I understand that. Those are prior to me, so I can't speak to what was in the thinking of people who made those decisions. Just like prior to you coming on the council, you can't speak to the decisions that people made. I'm telling you that if someone is found indicated by CPS, and we go through this for any sort of sexual abuse, any sort of child abuse, then it's always my intention to recommend to the local board that they be terminated, and then that we go through that process of termination.
So, Dr. Smith, you have more than 22,000 employees, and I have to assume that in any large system with that many employees, what we hope would be a very small percentage of those humans are monsters. What I haven't been able to get a sense of, and I've asked this of